Hello everybody, welcome to Monaco. This should be an absolute stormer of an event and I'm so excited to bring it to you here today. We are looking at the drivers partaking in the qualifying session. We'll pop out the zoom just a little bit so we can get a broader view of the affairs on track. We can have a look at the fastest laps of the drivers. They're all going out to set their respective lap times in this 4-minute qualifying session with tyre wear 3. And often you'll find them getting a pretty decent lap out of the pit lane here in Monaco because it is a shortcut through turn 1, so don't always expect drivers to improve on what you might think will be a push lap necessarily. They're also known to do sort of a push and 2 cooldowns sometimes, so that's something to also look out for, and we'll keep the entertainment rolling through those sessions. But we've got a lot of wiggling around on the track, it seems, up and down all over the place, but this should be it in terms of our the fast times. Keep your eyes peeled to the leaderboard. On the left, Rito goes up to second. Suicide takes provisional pole here in Monaco in the Pappy Pops car, which is yet to score its first ever points in Ultimate Virtual. Suicide sits on provisional pole with a 29.12. No doubt we'll see times tumble lower than that, especially with the tyres wearing out now. They'll be in for a change. Probably none of them this lap, but definitely some of them soon. Unbelievable. You wouldn't expect anyone to improve, but we'll keep our eye. Goose and Vladinator came into the pit lane. That's something to keep our eyes peeled for. They would be in the last 2 positions. They're going really early in terms of out of sync with the rest, and they're going to go for push laps a little bit earlier than these two, who are, or than sort of the other 18 drivers who are all just biding their time and waiting a little bit. They're all coming in now. We'll have a look at how Vlad and Goose are doing out of the pit lane. We'll have to spy them as they come through because they're going to be right down at the back here. Yeah, here they go. So Goose comes out. He's currently in 14th place. Vladinator in 18th. How good has the outlap been? Can he set in a new PB? Goose doesn't, and nor does Vlad. Okay, interesting. They might just be waiting for this lap then, their sort of official timed push lap, to try and really get the times rolling for that. But this could be it for a lot of the drivers. This could be the lap where they really make it count. They'll have to come around the final corner. Will Rito put himself onto provisional pole? No, he won't. He stays 5th. Goes down to 7th even, but look at the top. Ikalowski has dispatched Suicide, the man who has not until this season qualified inside the top 10 in Ultimate Virtual. He's only recently just gotten that BAV seat, and that's allowed him to finally stretch his legs in a decent car. He's not had an incredible start to the season, mind you. The BAV team have been generally a little underperforming so far, but this is definitely something that will still count. The question remains if they'll come in for one final push lap, because once this is done, once this very lap is done, they might just have time to do one more push, one more fly. We'll have to see if they'll risk it or if they see the end of the session coming and no need to go out for another push. But Rito is currently on track, got nobody ahead of him, is fascinatingly down in 7th position. They're not going to come into the pit lane, it doesn't look like. Oh, some of the back might though. Yes, they do. Pit crew and Kubo come in, but I assume that would be for Inters. Wets even. Inters for pit crew. Interesting. They would definitely have time to, well, just as the conditions are worsening, if they slapped on a set of softs, would they have had the time to get round? We'll have to wait and see. But as we come up through here, yeah, look, the rain's going to just spoil the end of Rito's lap. Not that it was a push anyways, but with the rain coming and with them finally coming into the pits now to ceremonially end, it looks like it's going to be our P3 man, Suicide, on the softs, who will finish off the qualifying session for us. And it has been a fantastic qualifying session for him and the Pappy Pops team. This is why we love Monaco, because it really throws up these surprises that you just wouldn't come to expect normally, and I love that. So we'll have to see as the qualifying results end. That is the positions at the end, but we'll take you to the actual grid order right now. Here we go, looking at the grid order. Ikalowski in the BAV will start on pole position. That is their first pole position since presumably the end of Season 3 back in their dominant patch. Monaco will take second place, the front row on the grid for our winner last time out in Sepang. Third place goes to Suicide, fourth, Jiruni and Applamazing in fifth, Grandy in sixth. In the front three rows, none of the drivers that you traditionally consider the sort of big dogs of the sport, but the Porsches with now the second fastest car, which is the highest they've ever been in the team index rankings. They've qualified second and fifth, so fantastic shift from them. Their car looks like it is properly working, and we'll see the tokens in a second, but you might just be surprised at a few of these. Grandy will start 6th, Rito 7th, Pit Crew will start 8th, Sobel 9th, and Andrian gets Fuerza Roja. I believe it's their first ever top 10 start, which is just incredible for the team. It shows how far they've come, especially with the speed upgrades that they've been building towards at the start of this season. They've done incredibly well, so after a rain-affected qualifying, they've managed to put themselves up there. Abva will start 11th, Kubo only on the 6th row of the grid in 12th, then it's Anti and Andres, Goose and Fox, Pappy and Caddo, Vladinator and Urist will start last. He was only able to set a 30.72, but look at the tokens. There's big surprises here. There is big surprises. So our pole sitter Ikolowski is spending just a single token. Our P2 man Hetmenica spends 2 tokens. Rito spends 3 tokens and qualified in 7th position, while Kubo spends 3 tokens and qualified in 12th. That is almost beyond belief, but we have seen big shake-ups already this season. Jiruni spends 2 tokens and is up in 4th place. Pit Crew spends 2 tokens and is up in 8th. Anti spends 4 tokens and can only manage 13th on the grid. Andrian spending 2 tokens will start from 10th position, ahead of the 2 mega token spenders behind him. And then Suicide spending 3 tokens will start in 3rd position, but that is remarkable, absolutely remarkable. We'll have a look at the car indexes. You can see, well, they're sorted by the points that they've scored so far this season. You can look at the indexes on the right. Velocity, I mean, they might have the 4th fastest car, but it's still not a bad car. It's pretty shocking that Kubo and Uris also starting in last, but Kubo with 3 tokens, and all he could manage was that. I mean, that is pretty ridiculous. Rito also doing really poorly, and that BFX is the strongest car on the grid and very well rounded, so that also majorly surprises me. Looking at the good performance, because they're still here, the THXs did well, the Porsches did well, Pappy Pops and BAV. So BAV, they've got good grip, and that's very important at a track like Monaco. Good acceleration as well, even if their speed isn't quite the strongest. And then Fuerza Roja also with good grips. That could perhaps explain part of it, but Thunder X did very well, and they've got a pretty average car at the moment, to be honest. They did make some big steps forward this week, though. I believe it was 1 grip and 2 acceleration upgrades. A grand total of 0.6 index points. They've leapt up. So, actually, yeah, you can see it down there. What am I talking about? 2 acceleration, 1 grip. This will be a fascinating race. This is not the grid order that I expected. I would have thought it would be Rito, Kubo, front row, easy conversion to win for one of them, but that is not how it's going to be. We're ready to get going for the Monaco Grand Prix, just moments away. Here it is. Here we go. The Monaco Grand Prix. We're underway here in the Principality. Both of our front row starters on the medium compound tyre. Hetmenica looking for a move up through Massenet. Can Suicide go up the inside into Beau Rivage? He does, and he gets the move completed by the time they enter the hairpin. Suicide for Pappy Pops Racing is in the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix. Hetmenica down to 3rd. Pit Crew with an amazing start up to 4th, round the outside of Tabak. He makes that 3rd place. Jiruni still hanging out in 4th. Hetmenica back up the inside of the both of them. Pit Crew gets a poor exit. Jiruni might get round the outside into Sandoval. He does. Jiruni into 3rd position now. Suicide still leads. Then it's Hetmenica, Grandy, and we've got Pit Crew in behind him as well. Sobel, then it's Kubo, Anti and Apley. They're all fighting now over 8th position. Anti and Kubo already making some positions up off the start. Rito actually losing them. He's down to 11th place, the 3 token spender today. Meanwhile up front, Suicide gapping. So is Ikolowski and Jiruni trying to catch him still. Pit Crew and Hetmenica with an amazing battle over 4th place. Hat will come back. The great speed of that Porsche allows them to take the move back into turn 1. That was a lovely little overtake. In behind them is already Kubo, who on the hard compound of tyre has made up 6 positions on the opening 2 laps, and that is one of the most incredible pieces of driving you'll see out of any start in Ultimate Virtual, nearly called it Sunday League Virtual. Rito back up to 7th position, and him, Antti, and Kubo all have to just try and forge their way through the pack as well as they can, because it will be really difficult. Andries hits the pit wall. Andrin already down 5 places. Jurist up 4. Vladinator 17th for him. Pappy and Kado at the back. The entire field nearly in a Pappy Pop sandwich. Front 3, front 4, front 5 as they were. Kubo still there. This will be an incredible battle. Ike hits the wall on the exit of the Nouvelle Chicane. Pit Crew comes through that best. I think lost a lot of time, but he comes back up the inside of Ike. This could all open the door for Kubo, but he does need to get a move on. Rito with a pretty solid BFX, the fastest car by quite a long way underneath him. Kubo gets through on Ike. Can he get Monaco by the time they enter the hairpin section? Very, very risky round the outside, but it turns to the inside, and with a little bit of wall slamming, Kubo on lap 5 is up to 4th position already, and Rito has absolutely followed him through. They were 11th and 12th on lap 1, and they're now up a whole lot of positions. Pit Crew still holding on to the podium for now, but how much long will that last? Not very. Kubo gets through, and Rito, just on the exit of Sandoval, will also make that move. Kubo is on the podium already. 9 positions in just over 5 laps. Have you seen anything of the sort in Ultimate Virtual? I certainly haven't. Suicide leads. Jiruni on the medium. Suicide definitely the right choice with a soft tyre at the start, but he'll have to be in pretty soon. But he was able to just break clear of the pack in that. It's actually incredible. It's sort of, to a similar extent, what you could see in WTV a couple of weeks ago in Sonoma, where you just see a driver in a very, very average, and by very average I mean below average car, break away at the start, and even if they are pegged back, that pure start definitely puts them in a good position. But Jiruni puts himself into a better position. He leads, but gets a poor exit, and Suicide comes right back at him into the swimming pool. Jiruni to the outside, Raskas hits the wall. Kubo and Rito going side by side, and Rito up into 3rd. The Poles are absolutely munching their way through the field at the moment. Rito, can he make it 2nd? Up through Beau Rivage and Massenet into the Grand Hotel section. Yes, he can. Kubo follows through, and they are a hair's breadth away from the race lead. Can Rito get it on the exit through the tunnel to the outside of the Nouvelle Chicane? He overcooks it and hits the wall. Jiruni will have a chance, but he's forced to the outside. Kubo up the inside. Kubo and Rito in a Polish 1-2 after 8 laps of racing. That hard tyre has switched on for them like there is no tomorrow, but Jiruni will come back and try and spoil that party. The Belarusian man who led briefly after Suicide was overtaken for the lead of the race is trying to come back up and sandwich himself into that 2nd place position. He gets a really good bit of speed down through the tunnel section. Remember, these drivers have regen boost. Jiruni has pretty significantly more than Kubo. Kubo using a lot of it now. Jiruni will have plenty more where that came from. Pit Crew, Sobel and Ikolowski were all into the lane, as were Fox, Vladinator, Jurist, and Kado, and also Antti and Suicide, of course, who came in early off the soft compound tyre. Antti has already made a stop, and his climb through the field is also somewhat unprecedented, to be honest, because he's made his way up from a pretty lowly 13th position, and he wasn't quite as fast starting some of the other drivers, but he has absolutely made hay here, and he's up to 6th already. Jiruni is into the lane, and our 2 hard runners are currently inheriting 1st and 2nd after the qualifying session, which was of course rain affected at the very end, but also just qualifying in Monaco is no easy thing. I would have thought that there's been no chance that we'd see Kubo versus Rito fighting for the lead of the race, but after 8 laps is all it took for them to turn an Ikolowski pole, Suicide P3 and Jiruni, Hetmenica on the front row, down into some pretty low positions. Well, Suicide's still doing very well on the podium, looking for Pappy Pops. I mean, it'd be an amazing story for them to get their first ever points with a podium. Heavy rain is on the way. That will suit our front runners, our hard runners, Rito and Kubo, like there is absolutely no tomorrow. Also benefiting will be Amazing, Andrian and Pappy, who are all yet to make a stop. Fox and others are all in for their 2nd now. They're just going to skid around a little bit as they enter into the pit lane now, and Kubo is blocked a little bit by Rito. We'll have to see the gap. When they came in was about a second, 1.2 maybe. As they come out, Kubo was pretty majorly held up by his compatriot there in the pit lane, and as they come out, that gap has increased but I'd say no short of 8 tenths. Antti is in 3rd place, and despite having made 2 stops, he did take an extra stop, and he did stop for the hards as well. I think he was on the soft at the start, and that massively boosted up through the audio. Might have been on the medium, I don't quite remember. But regardless, Antti is in 3rd, and the token spenders today are really showing their worth, especially since the field is growing ever tighter, and that's why you see things like Andrin, who did qualify in the top 10 for the first time in Fuerza Roja history. And it's great to see that, honestly. It's really, really good to see tokens do matter, regardless of what team you're on. You know, maybe it's a token dump that will only get you a point, maybe it's a token dump that will get you a race win. The card does play a factor, but the field spread last season, particularly at the front, was just too much, I think, for the healthy competition of the sport. We'll have another look at the tokens while there's not too much going on. EK with 1 took pole position. That is one of the lower margins that we've seen. He's in a decent car, but they haven't been on tip-top form so far this season. Rito, 3 tokens. Kubo, 3 tokens, explaining their ascension through the field. Monaco with 2 tokens. That was good enough for the front row of the grid. Apple Amazing qualified 5th with no tokens, really cementing, as Kubo finds a bit of difficulty with some back markers, really cementing how good that Porsche is now. Abram Fox not spending any today. Girouni spent 2. That explains his 4th place in quali and his good battle. He was sort of the last man standing to fight out the poles at the front at the end of the first stint. Pit Crew spending 2 tokens. He's had a quiet race so far, but he is in 6th position at the moment. Antti has made his way up into 3rd, and then we get Andrin in 2nd. Sorry, Andrin with 2 tokens in 12th, and Suicide with 3 tokens is still in 5th place. So we've got some good stuff going on even without close proximity of battling up top at the moment, but there's a lot of lap traffic, and one of those lap cars is Jurist McProl, teammate of the man chasing Rito down in 2nd place, although they might just shuffle off to the side here. They get a bit in his way, but he does clear them pretty much all as they come into that corner, but it will be more difficult for him. He's still got a bit of struggling to go, and Kuba, I think, was held up by Vladnator there as well, but the gap that was sort of 3 seconds at one point has definitely shrunk. Pappy is now holding him up. Pappy might be doing this for his teammate Suicide. Remember, there is no obligation for lapped cars to get out of the way should they not wish to. Kubo is now very much coming up on this traffic pack, but he gets them at the right point, I'd say, down the main straight and then down the straight out of turn 1, or sort of the climb up the hill as you'd represent it in real life, but we are in a 2D game. He brakes hard for the hairpin, and the wet conditions are still very, very slippery, but I think they will be drying up over the course of the next few laps. Kubo to the outside of Pappy and squeezes him a bit into the wall, come through the back markers with none in the foreseeable future, because weirdly that pack is quite a long way back. If we look at Pappy, who's in 13th, has been lapped, and Andrin up in 12th, obviously spending 2 tokens. That's much more spread out, but come through the rain and shine, come through the back markers. The front 2 now separated by less of a gap, you'd say, than they were previously. Rito's going to try and reinstate that gap. What about the rest of the battles? Antti is in a pretty comfortable position. Girouni currently in that sort of hornety bumblebee yellow has just lapped his teammate Goose, the man who designed the car, with a bit of help from KRT team principal Julo, who's obviously no longer with us in Ultimate Virtual, neither in a driver capacity. Oh, as pit crew tries to capitalise on a Suicide mistake, and this will be an amazing overtake if he gets it done, but Suicide shows him the wall, pit crew shows him it right back. That was a fantastic fight through the 3rd sector of the track as we come up to the 3rd of the way through distance. But look at this, there's going to be a battle out of Portier through the tunnel section, and it's still a speed advantage for Rito, but Kubo sticks it in around the outside at the Nouvelle Chicane, and Kubo, seemingly out of nowhere, I think he's just biding his time. He was saving that boost, and now he is completely out of it. Rito still has a little left to use, so we might just see him deploy down through here maybe, unless he doesn't see Kubo as enough of a threat to do so. But Kubo was out, he's recharged a bit now. He'll have to have perhaps another go as they come through on lap 21, but he gets a really poor exit. I think he just lost the back of the car on the exit of Portier, and that's not going to help his cause at all. He avoids the barrier on the exit of the Nouvelle Chicane. They're now going to be skidding through that final sector, and they're both going to enter in the pit lane. Kubo once again just gets blocked by Rito, and that's again just going to cost him that few tenths of a second that could be absolutely crucial come the end of the race. Antti and Girouni now, and Girouni I think has been majorly blocked by Fox there, so that is a big shame for him. Looking further down, Pit Crew pitted a lap earlier with Suicide. Are they going to undercut Girouni? Yes, they will, just about. Pit Crew makes his way into 4th place, and Girouni had a gap of a couple of seconds, so he's not going to be too pleased with that one. Any development back up at the front, Kubo on the softer tyre currently, chasing down Rito, who's on the medium, but the block in the pits and just the little moment coming through Portier has hurt his cause. Rito sets a lap that is 2/10 off the fastest so far today, and Kubo just 300th slower than that. So we'll keep an eye on the lap times as it all progresses, and we'll be staying right here. We're not even at half race distance yet. This is the Monaco Grand Prix. It's a longer race than usual because it's a slow track. But yeah, anti-lapping Eurus, these two obviously fighting it out for a podium last race. Eurus not having the same sort of prowess this race definitely than he did in Malaysia, but it was a very solid 3rd for him. Antti took a great 2nd place, and the man who took the win, Monaco, spending 2 tokens today, would be disappointed, I'd think, not to see himself sort of at least near the podium, but he did. Well, he did set in a very, very fast lap time, and then one that was 1 second and 100th slower than it last lap, so that is confusing. Suicide still on course to take Pappy Pops' first ever points in the top division. Pappy came out last night. It appeared that he spent 50 bonus trying to develop the car. Obviously, that is something that he gets as a team that was below the median as the season started. They do get extra help with their development, and Pappy spent 50 last night, and 39 of it was wasted because the rolls were so good. So I asked him about his feelings, and he said, you take 39 wasted over 2 plus 20 any day, and I think that is absolutely right. Pappy Pops have come a long way, and they've gotten speed and acceleration upgrades for this week. Suicide putting them really to use. So we'll have to see if spending early in the season will work for them, unlike it has, well, sort of like it hasn't for Andrian really, because he has been pretty poor despite a lot of tokens spent already. I believe after this race he's down to just 4 left. He spent 7 for no return, so even with the rapid speed development that Fuerza Roja are doing, it's not quite coming off. We'll go back to some battles. It's Antti, Pit Crew following him, Girouni and Suicide side by side through the swing pool. This is the scrap over 5th position. Pit Crew right ahead of them in 4th. He'll be looking in his wing mirrors and praying that they hold each other up as much as possible. Suicide looks out of the spot for now. Then Monaco with Ikalowski, the 2 front row starters, now in 7th and 8th position. Sobel in 9th currently, and Amazing Intent looking to pick up another tokenless point just like he did 4 of them in Malaysia. Right, Kubo now leads, so that has been a change in the lead that we might have just missed, but he's on the soft compound tyre. He will need to come in and pit earlier. This should be a slow burner, but a fascinating strategy battle as we come towards the end of the race. Rito quite tactically gets his way past Ab for the lap car, has a lot of boost to use, tries to go wide on the entry to the Nouvelle, get a good exit through to back, and he just has the overspeed all the way through that corner, takes a narrow entry into Raskas, but he will very, very cleanly take the lead of the Grand Prix back as we go on to lap 29. Will Kubo have any answer? He's got a little bit of boost to use. He's going to deploy it now as he weaves his way up the hill. But Rito, well, he doesn't have much to use either, to be fair. We'll have to see if Kubo can mount another challenge. But often, if you spend that boost trying to get an overtake done, and then it all sort of goes to waste in the end, you're gonna definitely find yourself in a precarious spot there for sure. But he is coming into the pit lane now. So this is the undercut. He's taking the softs again. He might have to pit an extra time, but I think he'd also be praying for some rain to come. Ideally not before Rito comes into the lane himself, otherwise that would be the race pretty much done and dusted. Antti on the hards, he's got a little while still to take them, I'd say, but the speed of the man in the faster car, not massively faster, but definitely still faster. We might very, very quickly, oh no, we're not going to do that because I think there's an overtake coming. Kuba gets through on Abva, and this is his target now, P2, to take it off the man running the old hard compound tyre. Will he get him with the overspeed on the straight? He could have boosted past. Maybe he's just saving that for his eventual battle with Rito, because I think the undercut will definitely work, but Antti is holding him up. Kuba might try opportunistically right before the hairpin, and he does, and that was a clean move, and he just needs to get through the lapped cars cleanly enough. Antti nearly was up the inside of him into Portier, but he wasn't quite, and now Kubo decides to deploy, and this is it, because I think he's heard that Rito will be coming into the pit lane this lap, on lap 32, so this is Kubo's chance to really close that gap on the softs, and he said in his PB lap time, he's now 2 seconds behind, and the time that Rito has lost is pretty astonishing, actually. Those worn mediums are so poor around this track at the moment. Maybe the extra stop might be worth it, because as we're looking at it now, Kubo on softs that are just a few laps older is going to retake the lead of the race before Rito comes into the pit lane. He certainly does now, but he'll be an entire stop behind and surely will take the hard compound tyre. I think that's exactly what he has done. Will he come up behind pit crew? No, not quite. Those front three did have a nice little gap of their own, but that is pretty astonishing how slow he was, how strong that stint just tailed off for him. I think that's shocking for him personally. Very bad strategy call. He could have overcut Kubo and only lost a second, still been very close behind him when coming out of the pit lane, and had fresher tyres, because obviously Kubo, with the soft initially, was still struggling to overtake Rito before he came into the pit lane. Rito was holding him up nicely. Rito could have come in maybe a lap later and been absolutely fine, and he's just not done that. He's now 6 seconds behind on the hard compound tyre, so he's now seen that he needs to go for a vastly different strategy. But look at Kubo, he's at the pit entry now. Rito only midway through the track at the Nouvelle chicane. That gap has grown by 1.5 seconds, and something that was looking like a Rito had the control of the power there. He had control over the race. It was looking like that, but now the gap is 8 seconds. Well, it's gone down. Kubo might have experienced a few difficulties through the last section. I had too many lap cars to compete with. But if Kubo can maintain this gap of a pit stop until he comes into the pit lane, which I'd probably assume he'd do this lap actually on lap 36, then he's just got fresher tyres. He would have taken a stop extra, sure, but he's actually got fresher tyres than Rito's now a few laps worn hards. They're still in pretty good neck. Oh, Anti looking to come back up the inside of him. Anti, on a really nice little strategy here, has taken the extra stop, and it has worked for him. He's on the fresher hards, and Rito was looking so good out in the lead of the race, and he's now down to P3. This is astonishing stuff. Kubo has played his strategy cards so nicely, and surely he'll be in soon enough, because he has an entire pit stop to second place, give or take, and they're obviously still wearing away their hard tyres. It doesn't wear quite as fast for them, mind you, but it is still wearing. We're going to have a very quick look down the order here. It looks like Ikolowski is chasing down Girouni. That's the fight over 7th position. Nothing else really that close in the top 10 apart from this fight for second place. Rito now has to try and come back at Anti, who does have that fresher hard compound tyre. I assume probably a lap fresher. Here we go. This is Rito in the pit lane. This is Anti in P2. Rito in P3, sorry, Kubo was the one in the pit lane, and Kubo comes out on the medium compound tyre and still leads the Monaco Grand Prix. He's on the faster tyre that is now, do the maths, but X number of laps fresher than Anti, and X plus 1 number of laps fresher than Rito. Unbelievably good strategy from the pole, and the only thing that will mess him up is pretty much an impending rain announcement. But Anti's looking to make it count, but his teammate squeezes him into the barrier on the exit of the Rascasse hairpin, and that's not going to help him at all. Anti now goes up the inside. This could be a really good scrap, but Rito has dropped off the back of these two. Anti is showing very strong pace with 4 tokens. Remember, that's an extra 1 over what Kubo's currently spending. Sobel's trying to back Anti up into Rito, but it's not working at the moment. He's only gained him a couple of tenths, and Anti immediately boosts down the straight, boosts into the back, boosts out of the back, through the swimming pool, into Rascasse he goes, looks to the outside, can't make anything happen quite yet. He's not got any boost left to use. Kubo is using boost, but he's not really pulling away. This could be a great chance for Anti. Round the outside, up the hill. Can he do it? Yes, he can. Anti, on lap 40, will take the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix. They're still fighting it, and Sobel looked up at his teammate in the wall. Kubo looked up the inside into Portier. Nothing doing there. Anti sticks around the outside. Can Kubo make a move around the outside here into the swimming pool section? He takes the lead of the Grand Prix back, and Anti, with an older, slower tyre, is giving us much needed action here in Monaco. This is incredible. It looked like it was wrapped up for Kubo. It looked like he might just gap these hard tyre runners who are not in the same tyre position as him, older and slower. But there we go. This is incredible stuff to witness. Incredible. Kubo leads the Monaco Grand Prix. He's going to look to win here once more, just as he did in Season 2. I believe he's also had repeat wins at India. I think that's right. Definitely somewhere like that. Big fan of these tracks. But Antti in second place is still not giving up that fight, and Rito is really not that far away, but he will have Eurus to lap. He's gone past his teammate Fanny, and that's just really poor on the exit of Porte. Just a massive overcorrection once again. Antti is starting to be gapped by the Polish man leading the race, but remember, those mediums will go off probably at a similar time to the hards. I reckon Antti, this is okay, I'm going to explain this one time and one time only. This is a really important phase in the race, because if Antti can put some good lap times on the hards and stick not too far away from Kubo, he will then be able to come into the pit lane and undercut Kubo. The hards will probably only wear out maybe a lap before Kubo would come in off his mediums, and that is crucial information because the hards do have a much better tyre life. If he can still keep pumping in some decent lap times, which he sort of is at the moment, definitely relative to the race leader at least, and he's catching him from lap to lap. We'll have a look at their last lap times. There's a 29.8 for Antti, and well, we just missed Kubo's there, I feel. But Antti only has to lap Caddo, and then he's right back up behind Kubo. Kubo, who should be into the pits pretty soon. Not this lap. Antti also not this lap. There is a chance they pit on the same lap. If they don't, Antti will be able to undercut. He will be able to come out ahead of Kubo or level with Kubo, and only with a lap older tyres, and that puts him in a really good position. But that's why this stint is so important, because being on a hard that's 3 or 4 laps older and obviously has the pace difference could put you in a disadvantageous situation. But if he can still keep some good lap times going, he's not into the pit lane just yet, and so I don't get too overexcited. We'll have a look down the rest of the field. Rito was looking very good out in the lead. He has lost all, well, he's actually just come into the pit lane, so he is actually a half shot at an undercut if he can put some very, very nice lap times here, but he would need to be quick. Picker is not in the fight for the podium. Monaco has Suicide right behind him. Het has recovered well into 5th place, but Sue has much fresher hards. Goes around the outside at Anthony Nuge. That's a great little move. Anthony No, I believe it is actually. Then Girouni a lap down from our race leader. In fact, we should be able to see a little bit back. Antti actually. Well, EK just there with Rito, who has already made up a lot of time. Okay, we're going to switch back to Rito, because Rito's putting in very good lap times, 28.75. That's brought him from 8 seconds off Antti to 4 seconds. That can't be right. 2 seconds isn't it right, Delta? But to 4 seconds off Antti, I think that's where he is. 4.2 looks about right. Antti has still dropped back, but he's really wearing this hard as the ground. Kubo can't be in. Antti surely is in, and he is. And that could be a huge undercut potential, because those mediums of Kubo are looking very shaky. But Rito, with a big fat undercut there by a couple of laps, will retake that second position off Antti. You have to concede that they're now on different strategies, but I reckon Antti and Kubo are very much on a similar one. Rito, with an alt strat and maybe a bit of luck from rain, could still win the Monaco Grand Prix after all looked lost, after he was re-overtaken and had a pit stop gap put on him by Kubo. Kubo, the man who led, the man who's in the pit lane, and the man who no longer leads Monaco, because Rito leads the Monaco Grand Prix and is looking for his first win since Mugello in the 2nd season of Sunday League Virtual. This could be absolutely crucial, but having a look at the tyres, starting from Antti, who's on pretty fresh mediums, just a lap older than Kubo's, which are brand new from this lap, pitted on at the end of lap 48, and Rito's, which are a few laps older. But, as we saw from Antti, he's going to have to take these for ages. He's going to have to take these 14 laps. That might be his downfall, because we saw Spuda, I believe, do the similar thing last year. Now retired from the league, bless him, but Spuda, I believe, tried to take like a medium stint for like 13 or 14 laps at the end, and it absolutely flopped. But Kubo's catching. Look at that, 1.6 seconds between first and second, 1.6 between second and third. They're not quite next to each other at the moment. There are lapped cars to contend with, but this is a fascinating battle for the lead, for the win in Monaco, and the Polish drivers in first and second, the Finn in third, and all of them will be hoping to come away from the most prestigious race, the jewel in the crown of the ultimate virtual calendar. They're going to all be hoping to come away from this with victory. Kubo boosts past the back markers. This is a really good opportunity now that he's cleared them. He's right up behind Rito. Needs to get a good line through Anthony Nogue and up the main straight. Tries to boost past Rito. Rito uses a bit of boost of his own just on the entry to Saint-Devote, and he will retake the lead. It looked almost a surefire overtake for Kubo, but has Rito just saved a bit of boost? No, he hasn't. Anti has plenty in the tank, mind you. Kubo has a really good opportunity to the outside at the Nouvelle. Outbreaks himself a little bit, and Rito might just have half a look back up the inside here. Can't quite make it stick. He might just find the best course of action is to sit in behind Kubo or come into the pit lane next lap. If he comes in this lap for a fresh set of soft compound tyres, he will win the Monaco Grand Prix. There is very little doubt in my mind about that, but I'm scared that he won't do it because the mediums aren't warm enough. He should come in this lap and put on some fresh soft tyres. That is his only chance of victory. If he doesn't, and he falls behind Anti, too bad, P3, whatever you like. Oh, he's not coming. If he came in, we'll have a look, interestingly, at how Monaco is doing, because he's in 6th place. He's obviously not quite at the same position as his drivers. He's just a lap down, but if he's able to re-overtake and unlap himself on Anti, then that Anti and perhaps Rito and then Kubo, that would really be something. He should come in. Rito, box, 6 lap softs to the end. Do it. He's not gonna do it. Look, Het's already there. He's already behind Anti. Oh, this bloody AI. That would have been giving us such a good ending. Okay, this is still the fight. Anti, remember, is on slightly older mediums. Okay, he has fallen off a little bit. The tokens can't quite do it for him today. Unless Rito comes in this lap, maybe. He's already been caught by Anti. And Anti's right up to the back of him now. This could be a really big fight. Will Rito finally come in? No, he won't. And that is that window gone. If he had pitted lap 53 to 55 or 52 to 55, he would have won Monaco. But I don't think he will now. Het's still behind them. Remember, he's only spending 2 tokens, but he is in a pretty good car. However, a car that is sort of lacking in some departments, you'd say. If we can very quickly pop up this, you can say that the PRG, while heavy on speed, is lacking in acceleration and grip, and that might explain why Het Monaco with 2 tokens is only probably going to finish 7th or 6th today. Still a very solid result, but they are the 2nd fastest car now. They need to act like it. Rito is finally laps late into the pit lane. I'd say that's a lap outside of a realistic pit window in which he could have won the race, personally. But there is a chance, and there is definitely a chance he could catch Anti as well. Now, the HUD always screws itself up a little bit through this section. I don't think he's 4 seconds behind. 6 sounds more like it. But currently leading is still Kubo. He's looking really nice and comfortable at the moment. Actually, 3 seconds to Anti behind on slower tyres. Look, Het has caught him, and Het came in when I said that Rito should have. And Het is spending 2 tokens fewer than Anti, and is in 6th place. So he has that position AI speed modifier applied to him. This should be really interesting. You can see Rito there. He's just entering the hairpin section right now. He's 2.5, 4.2 seconds behind, and Anti just body slammed into the wall by the pack of Jeru. And Het Monaco, he's just getting bullied by these AI who are fighting for 5th position. Now it actually is. This is a great scrap between them. It should be Het versus Jeru, and Suicide not far behind in the background. EK might even get up into this too with his 1 token today. But there is still Anti in 2nd place. They're on the penultimate lap of the Monaco Grand Prix. We're going to carry on following on board with him. You can see Rito right behind there. Suicide, who's still trying to chase down. You can see, look at the gap between 4th and 5th. Jesus. Picker's had a great race. I don't know how he's done this. But Het in 5th. Jaruni in 6th, a little bit behind. And then, well, Suicide's just actually gone through into 6th place. Jaruni now in 7th, and he's chasing down Het. So, Anti still in 2nd. This is the final lap here in Monaco. Kubo, for one last time, will work his way through the hairpin. We'll keep an eye on the race leader, but we have to keep eye on this fight for P2. Can Rito make up a huge gap? Surely too monumental for him to make up. And just as it was in Season 2, the Polish driver, his favourite race, the most prestigious on the calendar, Kubo wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Rito will take second place after a very late pit stop, and Antti will have to settle for third. Pit crew looks like he'll finish in fourth position here. He's yet to just finish the race, and you can see in the top left on the HUD, after 30 minutes and 43 seconds of racing, he's taken it. Suicide will be just a little bit behind, and you can see those are the final classified times. The HUD no longer moves after the race finish. Suicide just unlapping himself on the race leader now, and he will take Pappy Pop's first ever points in Ultimate Virtual. 10 points for them, P5 for him. Monaco takes 6th, and it looks like it will be Jaruni who takes 7th position ahead of Ikolowski by a few seconds, and Amazing in 9th place will also take a couple of points home. Sobel makes it a double points outing for BFX, who will be ruining the fact that they just didn't stop a little bit earlier. But here we go for the final results. We can see that Kubo was our race winner, and he also got the fastest lap of the race, and that breaks the record for the lowest grid position a Grand Prix has ever been won from. Kubo, starting in 12th place for Team Velocity, will take home 26 points today. Rito will take second, making a Polish one too, and are also two of the title contenders in Season 2. Nice flashback to that. Antti will take third place ahead of Pit Crew, and then quite far behind Suicide for Pappy Pops in that beautiful orange and green car will take their first ever points, and 10 of them come at once. At Monaco, then Jaruni, Ikolowski and Amazing makes it not a bad day out for the Porsche squad. They've taken 10 points here today. Sobel will take a single point for BFX. Finishing in 11th was Andrin, then Grandi behind him and Andries. Uris did make his way up from last place to 14th. Vladinator 15th ahead of Pappy and Goose, and the WTEX had a pretty bad day out. Caddo splits them. That is all for the Monaco Grand Prix. As always, a thoroughly entertaining race, great strategy, and really high profile drivers always putting tokens into this one. I really hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we'll be back for some more Ultimate Virtual. It will be Le Castellet. But for now, bye-bye.